FreeFlow have been making autocockers for a very long time. Well, maybe not like, a really long time, because they kind of stopped making autocockers really in the early 2000s or like late 90s, but they were very popular, kind of faded away like a lot of those mechanical guns or autocockers. But since this mechanical kind of 10-man revolution has come back, so have FreeFlow. I just think this gun is really cool. This isn't actually mine. This is my friend Eric's, and I kind of just wanted to show it off. If you're newer to paintball, this thing probably looks a little bit crazy when you're comparing it to other paintball guns. I mean, it's got like all these hoses and all these pneumatic things on the front of it. The reason for that is because all paintball guns back in the day used to be pump guns. And to make it not pump, or to turn it into like a semi-automatic or an autococker, because it autococks itself, they had to add all these hoses and all these pneumatics to the front so it could autocock itself. There's a very long history of the autococker going back many decades. There's a lot of people involved, and it was never patented. So there's a lot of companies like FreeFlow, there's Inception Design, Palmer's, Empire made the Empire Resurrection autococker. There's a lot of autocockers out there that are kind of all the same thing based off that original autococker design. So that's why there's so many autocockers. It's a pretty old and dated design though. So there's definitely paintball guns out there that are considerably better. I mean, there's guns that are quieter, there's guns that shoot faster, there's guns that are more air efficient, there's guns that are more reliable. I mean, there's just better products out there. But really those newer guns are kind of just boring, right? You can't tweak them, you can't tune them. When you buy them, that's kind of what they are. They're kind of completed. But with the autococker, because there was never that patent, there's a lot of parts out there, so you can buy a lot of stuff and do a lot of upgrades. It's kind of like this, right? Like, I really like photography, at least I used to. But as these digital cameras have gotten, kind of just taken over, it's just less exciting, right? You just pull your phone out and I'm like, just take 100 pictures and I'm like, well, one of these is gonna be good. So more recently, I've kind of gotten back into photography a little bit, but kind of ventured into that film realm where you have to be a little bit more like, on top of it. You have to think about setting up your shot to get a good photo. You gotta have all the equipment set up right. And I kind of feel like that's with autocockers, right? Autocockers shoot, and so do these newer paintball guns, but with the autococker, you kind of got to set it up right, and there's a little bit more to it, so it's a little bit more involved. So some of these guys that are just really into paintball, you want something that's a little bit more involving, kind of like I'm kind of getting back into that like film camera stuff. So when Eric bought his Clutch FreeFlow, he went for the full body size. This is that more traditional, normal body size. They also offer it in a mini body, but I like these bigger bodies. They're a little easier to hold and just that more traditional style. And he's also got the anodizing done by Arc Anodizing in this excellent acid wash, kind of green purple motif. Eric's done this on a lot of stuff. I don't know, it just looks pretty good. The reason I bring up Arc Anodizing is because when you order the FreeFlow, you can actually choose who you get the anodizing done by. They're offering anodizing done by Arc, Aesthetic, or Blizzard. All three very good companies, and all do really just good work. I love how all the FreeFlow guns are coming with that wire baldy tent. It's a really old school style design. I love it. They're stainless steel, will last forever. They're not gonna wear out like those rubber ones. And then they're also not gonna clog as easy as some of the rubber ones, just because that side is open. So if you break paint or something in there, you're able to get paint out a little bit quicker than it would with the style rubber ones, or rubber style ones. So if you're playing paintball a lot like I am, and you're losing your barrel cover constantly, I don't know, I try to put it in my pocket, but it never works out. In the Paintball Ruin My Life store, you can go buy another one right now. There's a bunch of these new ones in there and headbands. I don't know, I think I like that one the most. The thing I like about these FreeFlow guns is all the little like unique touches they do to them. So you can see that FreeFlow logo on the back block. Eric opted for that 916 serial number. That's our area code. That custom front block screw. And then that flush bolt pin, which is kind of hard to remove, but looks really neat. It also comes with like just a regular bolt pin, but I don't know, I forgot to film it. The trigger plate looks very good, really like these trigger shoes. So it's just cool. They put all these little unique touches and cues all over the thing. So to make this thing auto-cock itself, FreeFlow had to put on those front pneumatics. So they gotta get a three-way, you gotta get that low pressure regulator, and a ram, but they actually don't make some of those parts, so they don't make a ram or a three-way. So they've teamed up with Dye to bring us the DFF-20 autococker parts. The FreeFlow guns are the first paintball guns to actually ship with these Dye parts, but Dye are also offering them individually, so you can just go buy a three-way or buy a ram if you want to. And the clutch is going to come with all of those Dye parts. So it's going to come with that Dye 3-way, the Dye low pressure regulator, the Dye inline regulator, and the Dye Feedneck. But for the ram, FreeFlow actually make or have their own SMC rams. So that's what they're sticking with. They're a very, very popular ram. Yeah. So I assume the whole reason why FreeFlow teamed up with Dye is because making some of these very small precision parts like that inline regulator or the LPR are kind of just difficult. They all use O-rings and use very small parts, so they have to be made very consistently and very well. So teaming up with a company like Dye, makes paintball guns, they've been making products for a very long time, kind of makes sense, right? But Dye have made autococker parts in the past, and they weren't the greatest. So back in the early 2000s, I think 2002, 2003, Dye did come out with an autococker. They looked cool, but they were very cheaply made. They had all kinds of problems. The rams sucked, the 3-way sucked, they just didn't work that well. The Dye guns weren't designed poorly. I mean, the designs were okay, they shot and stuff like that. They were just very poorly made. So the consistency and overall quality of the product was not very good. And the new Dye parts are definitely better. I mean, they look better, they feel better. When I shot the gun with the parts on them, it shot fine, it worked well, everything went good. The LPR is definitely much easier to adjust, and the inline regulator also works really well. I think the newer parts are much better than the previous stuff. I didn't really go into super detail with the pneumatics though. It's not my gun and I don't want to take it apart. There's not a lot of these things laying around. So I didn't fully disassemble and inspect. I probably would, if it was my gun, I'd have probably taken it all the way apart and taken the O-rings off and stuff like that. But it's Eric's and I don't want to scratch it, so I left it all assembled. I thought it'd be good, right? I was like, the parts look good, gunshot's fantastic, shoots fantastic. So I was like, okay, well, we don't have to full on take these things apart. I can just, say they worked good, stuff like that. But then I started poking around the internet, and some other people have gotten their Dye parts. Like Garrett, who I know personally, aka Docfire here on YouTube, did some fantastic reviews on all of the Dye parts. He's not very happy. He knows so much more about autococker parts than me, so I feel like anything he says, I don't know, I just believe. He's just not happy with the overall quality. He's not happy with that 3-way rod. He doesn't like how it's aluminum. It would make a little bit more sense if it was stainless steel. The 3-way rod is adjustable, so it can strip a little bit easier if it's aluminum. He definitely also noticed some machining marks on the outside of the 3-way and on the inside. I mean, having the marks on the inside is not good because, those O-rings have to move around on the inside. And if it's all rough in there, you're going to get varied speeds and all kinds of weird stuff can start happening. So on the inside of the 3-way, I mean, you need it to be very smooth, like a mirror finish, so those O-rings can ride slick and smooth on the inside. I do know that he's talked to Dye though, he sent his parts back and they actually shipped the parts from San Diego to Florida so Billy Wing, Dye's main tech, could look at them and then try to hopefully figure out what's going on with the manufacturing to get the parts, made better, a little bit smoothed out. I don't know though. When we shot the gun, when I shot the FreeFlow, it shot perfectly fine. So I didn't notice any problems with any of those Dye parts of the pneumatics. Eric's used it multiple times. A lot of people have shot his gun. So at least the Dye parts on the FreeFlows that I've seen have been good. I kind of thought this would be a good opportunity for Dye to just make some mega good autococker parts. Use all the skill and know-how they've acquired over the past 30 years of manufacturing and just make autococker parts that kind of makes them stand out. I mean, at this point, the autococker market is small, right? There's not a lot of people buying these autocockers. Most people that are, willing to spend $1,000 on a paintball gun are buying something better. They're buying a Geo 4 or they're buying a Shocker amp or something like that. They're not spending $1,000 on autocockers. So there's a lot of, we'll say there's a small market and a lot of competition. I mean, you got ShockTech making really good parts and Shepton Design, Palmer's. There's a lot of options for good pneumatics. And I feel like Dye just kind of made cheap pneumatics again. I mean, they're better than they were, but I don't know why anyone would buy these pneumatics over, the Inception stuff or Palmer's stuff, or one of those ShockTech Bomb 3-ways are definitely nicer. So Dye had an opportunity and they blew it. I feel like they could have spent $3 more on a 3-way or $2 more on the LPR and made it a little bit nicer. I don't know. I think on this FreeFlow though, they work fine. I'm kind of going on this Dye part rant. I don't know. The trigger frame feels good. It's got that classic, you know, just normal Autococker 45 trigger frame feel. Pulling the trigger itself feels very good. It has a very lightweight and very nice trigger plate. I really like these look on the trigger plate at least. It looks really good. Riding on that trigger plate is a roller sear. So all the contact points on the trigger and the sear are gonna be ball bearings and smooth, really fast. Trigger feels great. Just kind of like you'd expect from any of these high-end Autocockers. Trigger shoe is a little bit oversized, which I really like. I mean, I got big old hands, so I like being able to kind of hold the trigger frame however I like. So having that bigger kind of oversized trigger frame, or I should say trigger shoe, I really do like. So trigger frame, trigger shoe feel real good. And all of the Clutch FreeFlow Autocockers came stock with the Dye ULS barrel. So the ULS barrel is the updated version of the very, very popular Dye Ultralight barrel, a two-piece barrel that came in a 14 and a 16-inch barrel length. I think you could get longer than 16-inch barrel tips, but standard 14 and 16 were the most popular size. But the new ULS has a 1-inch longer barrel back, making that overall barrel length 15 inches, somewhere in there. I like that extra length. It makes it a little easier to point and aim at stuff. So I like that length. Coolest part about these barrels though is that FreeFlow milling on the side. I really like this. It's just really cool. It's another one of those small touches on the FreeFlow that kind of makes it special and a little bit more unique. That's Eric's FreeFlow Clutch Autococker. This whole video I was like, FreeFlow, I can't say FreeFlow. It comes out FreeFlow. And I don't know, it's just so cool, and I like it, and I just wanted to show it off for him.